Hello, hello, Professor Konrad, and hello to people who are watching this YouTube video. Today we're gonna have an interview with Professor Renata Konrad from Foyzi Business School at VPI. She's an assistant professor in Operations and Industrial Engineering Department. So as UMass informs, we are initiating this YouTube video interview series. This is our first video with Professor Konrad. We are really glad that you accepted to talk with us. So while looking for a research question, do you get inspired by the application area or the theoretical side of it?
So I want to actually take a step back and say, I don't sit in my office and think, what's my, twirl my thumbs and say, what's the next research question that I'm going to work on. I do like to talk to people. So I talk to people in conferences, I talk to people on the street, I talk to people, wherever. So sometimes a conversation will lead to an interesting question.
Yeah.
And then in terms of being application focused or theoretical focused, personally, I'm more inspired by application and try and think what's the best way to solve this problem. But very often, an interesting application will lead to new theory. So I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation with somebody about my research, and then a foster care agency got involved. And the foster care agency said, oh, I think some of the operations research you do is applicable to me.
Yeah.
So I started working with a foster care agency in New York State, and it's actually leading to new theory in vehicle routing.
Oh,
yeah, and time windows and things like that, which again, it started off with an interesting application, but is leading to new theory. So,
I'm also interested in the application area, but theory will always need,
evolve,
I think. Yeah. Why did you choose to work in academia rather than industry?
So I actually did work in industry after my bachelor's degree for a number of years. And the type of work that I wanted to do, I would ask those people, what did you do? How did you get to this job? And they all had master's degrees. So I went back to school with the intent of returning into industry to do that job. During my master's, I really liked being a teaching assistant. So I really liked the teaching. Decided I wanted to become a professor, went on to do a PhD, and stayed in academia.
So you like doing research and teaching at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good job, I think.
Yeah.
Another very general question, like how do you keep your work and private life balance?
So first of all, I think it's very important to have a private life.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, whether it's family, whether it's your pets, whether it's your parents, whether it's an organization you're involved in. I think it's really important to have that because I think it grounds you, and I think it helps you identify what is important at the end of the day.
That's true.
So, whatever your private life is, I think it's important. And then the balancing is a delicate act. I don't have there's days when I feel completely off balance. There's days when one part of my life takes priority over the other. So when I'm teaching a class, that takes priority. If there's a grant due, that takes priority. At the same time, there's certain times when my family will take priority.
Yeah.
So I think the trick is not to be too hard on yourself, not to beat yourself up over it.
Yeah, it was a really hard question to answer, but at least it's nice to see people who also struggle with the same issue.
And I think more people struggle than you know.
Yeah. So maybe the trick is not to show. Our next question is, how did you originally get the motivation for working on the human trafficking topic? So Professor Konrad gave a talk in human trafficking and the operations research applications in this area. Just a side note to everyone.
So I became interested in human trafficking. I mentioned this in my talk, just from a personal experience, from a personal encounter with a female that I sensed something she was going to be exploited, and this was years ago, and it just always stuck with me. And I'm a big believer in the tools we have can do a lot of good, whether it's for manufacturing or it's healthcare, or in the case of human trafficking. And I just think it's a societal problem that we as a community have an opportunity to address. So I kind of became motivated through a personal story, but I also think the problem of human trafficking is so pervasive. And this morning in my talk, I was talking about human trafficking almost in my backyard, like in our hometowns. And I think it's something that is everywhere, and we can't ignore it.
It was a really eye-opening presentation, and the topic is so interesting and so.
It happens in your backyard, and you don't really think about it.
Yeah, it's so sensitive also. Yeah. While working on human trafficking, what piece of information surprised you the most?
So I think the pervasiveness of it, like the statistic I gave this morning was that there's somewhere between 26 and 47 million people that are trafficked worldwide, but it happens in Massachusetts, it happens in our hometowns, it's not something that's isolated, that people are kidnapped in some remote part of the world. It happens in the United States, it happens everywhere. And I think that's the part that really, really surprised me the most. And I have 3 young daughters, and I just thank my lucky stars, it can happen to very vulnerable people. It really surprised me, the pervasiveness of it.
Yeah, it's a very powerful subject, that. That's all for our interview, and thank you so much for giving the talk in the morning and giving this interview with us. I really, really enjoyed talking to you and your presentation as well.
And thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for being a speaker in UMass Informs student chapter series as well. Yeah, thank you so much.